Take 3. Hi, I'm Bobby Angel with Ascension Presents, and today I want to talk to you about looking inward before we jump to critiquing the world and everyone else. The prolific writer and author G.K. Chesterton, who was British, he was Catholic. There's a delightful story among many of Chesterton, one particularly where in the newspaper of his time, they wrote this question to all these authors: what's wrong with the world? And they invited all these authors to chime in. And so G.K. Chesterton replies with one sentence: what's wrong with the world? He says, "Dear sir, I am. Sincerely, G.K. Chesterton." The point being, it's so much easier to critique and point a finger outward at the world and what's wrong with that government leader and what's wrong with my family member and that neighbor and that person on the road. It's so much easier to look outward and critique everyone else than it is to look inwardly and say, I've got plenty to work on myself. Like, maybe I should clean up my own interior house before I go out and point a finger at everyone. And I think a lot of us are familiar with Matthew 7, when Jesus says to his followers, "Why do you see the speck that is in your brother's eye, but do not notice the log that is in your own eye? Or how can you say to your brother, 'Let me take the speck out of your own eye,' when there is a log in your own eye? You hypocrite, first take the log out of your own eye, and then you will see clearly to take the speck out of your brother's eye." I think most of us have heard that. We're familiar with that, and we know it, but it's so easier. It's so much easier to just, again, point the finger at anyone but ourselves. And being a parent, you just see it in your own kids too, when the kids are bickering, when they're quick to point out the faults in their siblings. Oh, my brother did that, and blah, blah, blah. And meanwhile, they've got their own pile of toys or their food they haven't eaten. They're like, well, he didn't finish his food. And it's like, listen, worry about what's going on in your own corner first. Let's work on you. And again, I'm a piece of work. Plenty. It's so easy to fall into, again, critiquing everyone else than it is to say, okay, hold on. I got plenty I need to examine. I have plenty I need to work on in my own life. And the thing is that also, we're incapable of judging what's going in the heart of another. Thanks be to God. That's up to God. That's between that person and the Lord at the end of the day, at the end of a lifetime. And so God alone knows the heart. Now, absolutely, we can know a tree by its fruits. Jesus himself said, we can and we should inquire, critique when it comes to bad ideas, bad philosophies, bad, habits or things that are going on, and hold friends and family and people we love accountable and say, hey, with gentleness. But we have to also make sure our own house is being tended to. Some tips that have helped me is just to pause. Take like the milliseconds when it comes to I would jump to slander or to gossip or to tear someone else down, to take just a few seconds and hold that thought. Like, literally just hold it. And maybe you're valid. Maybe the ideas or what's behind the other person's actions are crazy or they are straight up evil. But what is the point of me verbalizing it? What's the point of me saying this to myself, to my loved ones, to coworkers? Why am I about to say what I want to say? I have plenty to work on myself before I go and start tearing down others. And to the extent I can build up those who I actually have, the ability to reach, whether that's online, whether that's in real life, am I encouraging and building those around me up? Or am I just armchair critiquing everyone in the world except for me? Sometimes as well, we're projecting what we ourselves are struggling with onto other people and reading into things and situations when really it's no, there's an inner unrest that I'm dealing with that I'm projecting onto all sorts of other people. And to have the humility to ask God, God, give me the grace to see if that's really where I'm coming from. Help me take a second and pause and give me the grace to untangle and look at some of that unrest, like some of that angst, some of that habitual sin that's leading me to the ease of pointing fingers elsewhere instead of working on myself, instead of bringing this to you, God, instead of going to confession, instead of meeting with people who are going to hold me accountable or give me the grace to take that first step in that direction. Another thing too is to ask someone to hold you accountable. If this is an area of your life where you're really struggling, like you found something that is giving you unrest and leading you towards looking elsewhere to solve the problem, go to a priest, go to a counselor, go to a spiritual director, go to a friend you trust. You trust their wisdom, they're a good listener, and just say, hey, I, for some reason, am really angry. I'm really struggling with gossip. I'm really just kind of lashing out at the world. And something's going on inside, and I don't know why. Like, reach out, ask for help. Because, again, trying to solve it on our own and keep everything on our head, like, we need other people. We need other people to get to the root of maybe why am I so quick to find the specks in everyone else instead of running away from examining the log I've got sticking out of my own eye. Just some thoughts. I am a fellow sinner working on it. I'm a piece of work too. And so let's keep supporting each other, praying for one another. Please like, comment, subscribe. From all of us at Ascension Presents. God bless.